idea was to make a science fiction adventure series about this alien character called Draven, who could travel anywhere in time and space. The only brief we had from the studio was to make sure that we appealed to a family audience.
Oh, and at the time I'd recently split from my death metal band. Yeah, there'd been artistic differences. I was artistic and they weren't. And I was looking for a new avenue to, to really stretch myself. And I just thought TV productions, yeah, that's the next logical move.
Although the character of Draven could travel anywhere in time and space, our budget was a little bit limited, so he did more often than not end up on 20th century Earth.
Well, come on! Don't you know a break out when you see one? So many questions, but so few answers, huh? There's sentries that bind me be unleashed in fire. I'm not sure I like the sound of that.
Well, the producers came to see me in a play I did in the West End called Third and Final Draft. I was playing a very eccentric copper who was a genius, but totally insane. I think from that performance they thought that I'd be suitable for the character of Draven.
As soon as we saw Mark Fielding, we thought, yeah, that's him, that's our man. He had a wonderful feckless charm about him, a little twinkle in his eye, absolutely ideal for this kind of character.
Makes you feel so very welcome, doesn't he?
Well, he was an interesting character to play because being an alien, you're given a pretty broad canvas to play with. He doesn't have a mother or father you can speak of. So really, it was just down to me and the writers to create this fantastic new character, which I think we did.
Judging by what Farrington said, we have 17 hours before the resurrection.
The producers wanted this ongoing story arc on Earth to be introduced, which they thought was an interesting idea.
I was a human, possessed by an alien, stranded on Earth, or something like that.
The scripts were of varying quality, to be honest. I think the mistake they made was being too ambitious with the budget we had.
Dramatically, it's becoming increasingly more difficult to write for Draven as a single character moving the story along, which is why I want to introduce a couple more regulars into the series, which is where Rachel Jones and Adam Taylor came in.
Hello, who are you?
My name's Adam Taylor.
I was introduced in an episode, what was it called? Architects of Doom, I think, and I was playing this young journalist, and yeah, I was really young at the time, and he gets caught up in these adventures with this Draven guy.
I didn't think it was a very good decision, creative or otherwise, to bring these juveniles into the show. First of all, it took away the focus from me. Draven, the main character, and his involvement in the stories.
It was my first job out of drama school, so I was a bit naive. Everyone was really supportive, though I did find Mark a bit distant for a while.
I remember there was one sequence where I was running down a hill from some villain or other.
Going full pelt down this hill, and halfway down he trips.
And he topples over, smacks really hard to the ground. Does he lay there? He gets up and carries on with the scene. We thought he hadn't done himself any harm.
It was only after I'd been checked over that I realised that I'd fractured my ankle. It took half the crew to carry me back to my trailer.
Yeah, well, it could happen to anyone, I suppose.
Oh no!
I only come in for a couple of episodes. There's a heavy. Ended up staying for nearly 2 seasons. Wish all jobs could be like that.
When it came to casting Sharrock, the nemesis, we needed a certain kind of actor who could handle all the makeup and be able to act convincingly underneath it all.
And David Moore called me into his office, sat me down, and asked me how I felt about rubber and latex.
If you complete the regeneration cycle and Sharrock is released, all that will be left on this planet will be a ball of dust orbiting a dead sun. Don't you see? You're just being misguided, you're being used!
What? A lot of time into their own stunts, and looking back, it wasn't the brightest thing I'd ever done.
That's a nasty little scratch.
Because I did get knocked about quite a bit. And I still got the bruises to prove it as well. Bloody hell.
The Sharrock costume, that was hot and very sweaty. And to tell the truth, I couldn't see bugger all out of it.
Am I looking at the camera for us?
Can you see the camera?
I can't see nothing.
I definitely couldn't see my whole Fielding. That was a good thing.
When I took on the role of this alien baddie, I thought I was going to have to spend hours in makeup every day. But luckily for me, they decided to disguise the character as a human. It's a good move.
Well, I was never too happy with the effects, to be honest. I think they sometimes match the quality of the scripts.
Mark Fielding was a very intense actor to work with. He didn't suffer fools gladly, I can tell you.
As he was the star of the show, I mean, he understandably had enormous pressure lying on his shoulders. So, you know, there were odd times when he would be rather vocal. I got on very well with Mark, but, you know, even I would hide if he started kicking off.
Mark was a great ambassador for the series, though. He would regularly do TV and press interviews and attend conventions for the fans, both here and in the United States.
I remember attending one in Chicago a couple of years back, and I was chatting to a chap there from Star Trek. I can't remember his name. And I said to him, "What have fans meant to you over the years?" And he looked me straight in the eye and he said, "They've kept me employed." This was a typical convention today. We've done a couple of autograph panels, and they've all been very successful. Well, it's been a fun day out, I think, for everyone.
And when the story arc was coming to a conclusion at the end of the second season, I was starting to feel that the show needed revitalising, not just on a dramatic level, but on the production side as well.
It was about this time David was getting concerned. We'd entered the third album phase, and what we needed to do was find a new direction for the show. Well, everybody was finding it increasingly difficult to work with Mark.
Yeah, Fielding, he was a character.
And Richard Reeves, the producer, and myself had a meeting with the studio, and we all decided that maybe it was time to find a new Draven.
I knew nothing about this until it came round to renewing my contract. I was rang at home by David, and he said that he had good news and bad news. I asked him what the good news was, and he said that the series was coming back next year. I then asked what the bad news could possibly be. And he said, "But without you."
And Mark started sounding off, saying he was the show, and we couldn't possibly get rid of him. Which of course we did.
Well, that's it. The end of my part, a legend. A living legend. Well, we hope so.
Well, I was devastated.
I hope you'll go on watching though, and enjoying. Remember, while there's life, there's hope.
I'd worked very hard to build up the character. I was thrown out on the street like some background artist.
We'd actually hired a second trailer just for his ego.
And you really think there's going to be a new beginning?
Our big problem now, of course, was whether the audience would accept another actor in the title role.
I mean, sure, I was aware of the show, but I'd only glanced at a couple of episodes. It seemed like a lot of fun to do, and it was a regular pay packet.
I just cast him on the spot. It was perfect.
Our biggest problem was explaining having a new leading man, and we didn't want to pretend it was the same character like Bond.
Is there nothing we can do?
I came up with this concept that Draven itself was actually an energy field, and his body was just a husk, and on the point of death, the energy field would leave that body and transform into another person's body, okay? A bit like reincarnation.
Yeah, it was an inspired idea. I mean, we could change the leading actor again and again, and we wouldn't have any problems.
Yeah, I remember there was one day on set when Rupert turned up, and all the crew and all the cast, they were all wearing these T-shirts that said "Bring back Mark Fielding." And you know, he was fine. He saw the funny side of me, which is probably more than Mark Fielding would have.